Welcome back to Goodnight, Lighthouse. I'm Miss Dorothy, and we're here to read you another story. And I'm in such an exciting place. I'm in a classroom at Big School. You know, some of you are going to be starting Big School really, really soon. Some of you may have already started school. And there is so much to talk about when it comes to going to school. I'm in Mrs. Stottlemeyer's classroom at the Academy. Say hi, Mrs. Stottlemeyer.
Hi.
There she is. That's Mrs. Stottlemeyer. She's a teacher at our academy, just like you're going to get a teacher at your school. We have such exciting things to see in this room, and I have a book all about a first day of school, and it has one of your favorite characters in it, because this is called Curious George First Day of School. Curious George First Day of School. Curious George the monkey goes to school, and on the first day, like Curious George does, gets into all kinds of mischief. Are you going to get into mischief at your school? We're going to have to see, aren't we? And we need to get into this book and find out what Curious George does on his first day of school. Then we're going to come back and we're going to talk to Mrs. Stottlemeyer about your first day of school. So, if you're ready to get into this book, I need you to sit up and listen up, because here we go.
This is George. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. Today, George was so excited he could barely eat his breakfast. "You have a big day ahead of you, George," said his friend, the man with the yellow hat. It was a big day for George. It was the first day of school, and he had been invited to be a special helper. George and his friend walked together to the schoolyard. Some of the children were nervous, but George could not wait for the fun to begin. Look at him, there he goes, carrying his lunchbox, get ready to go into school with all the kids. In the classroom, George's friend introduced him to Mr. Apple. "Thank you for inviting George to school today," the man with the yellow hat said to the teacher. Then he waved goodbye. "Have a good day, George. I'll be back to pick you up after school." So that's the teacher, Mr. Apple, and the man with the yellow hat's going to leave George at school. The children were excited to have a monkey in class. "George is going to be our special helper," Mr. Apple told them. And what a helper he was. At story time, George held the book. At math time, the children could count on George. Look, the children are counting all his fingers and all his toes. He's teaching them how to count. And at recess, George made sure everyone had a ball and a well-balanced snack. Look, he's showing them how to balance their lunch boxes on their heads. After lunch, Mr. Apple got out the paints and brushes. George saw red, yellow, and blue paint. 3 colors were not very many. George was curious. Could he help make more colors? Uh-oh, what is he going to do? First, George mixed the red and blue to make purple. Next, George mixed the red and yellow to make orange. Then, George mixed the yellow and blue to make green. Finally, George mixed all the colors to make a big mess. The children thought the mess was funny, but Mr. Apple did not. "Oh dear," he said, "we are going to need something to clean this up. Everyone, please sit quietly while I look." George spilled all the paints. Mr. Apple's going to look for something to clean it up, and he wants everyone to sit and wait quietly. George did not mean to make such a mess, and he certainly did not want to sit quietly. He wanted to help. It was his job, after all. George had an idea. Uh-oh. In the hallway, George found a closet. In the closet, he found a bucket. In the bucket, he found just what he needed. A mop! George got a mop, and he's running back to the classroom with it. George was on his way back to the classroom when he heard someone yell, "Stop! Stop! What are you doing with my mop?" The janitor ran after George. "Stop! Stop! No running in the halls!" The principal ran after the janitor. But George was going too fast to stop. He grabbed the doorway and swung inside, and splash! The bucket tipped, the mop dropped, and George slid across the floor. Now the mess was even bigger. Mr. Apple looked surprised. The principal frowned. The janitor just shook his head. And George, poor George, he felt terrible. Maybe he was not such a good helper after all. Poor George, he was just trying to help. The children felt terrible too. They did not like seeing George looking so sad. They thought he was a great helper. Now they wanted to help him. So all the children lent a hand and some feet. And before anyone knew it, the mess was gone. "That little monkey sure is helpful," the janitor said. "It looks like Mr. Apple has a whole class full of helpers," the principal added. At the end of the day, when George's friend arrived to pick him up, Mr. Apple said, "Thank you for all of your help, George. We hope you will come help us again." The children cheered. They hoped George would come again too. George waved goodbye to his new friends. What a great day it had been. He could not wait to come back to school. Oh, that was a fun book. Curious George had a good day on his first day of school, but he got into mischief because he's so curious, and he was really curious about paints. Do you have curious kids in your class?
Oh, yes.
Yes?
Every year.
How about monkeys?
Depending on how many, if I have 14 kids, I have 14 monkeys.
14 monkeys come to our classroom. I bet you're going to be one of those monkeys. Now listen, Curious George had fun on his first day of school. The kids had fun on their first day of school, and you're going to have fun on your first day of school too. Are they going to have fun, Mrs. Stottlemyre?
We are going to have fun.
Do they have anything to be worried or nervous about?
No, nothing to be worried about. Nothing
So
to be nervous.
what's it like when they come to school on the first day?
Well, actually, they have a lot of work to do.
Oh, wow, on the first day.
Keep them busy, yeah.
Wow.
Because we have to put their stuff away. They got to put their stuff in their desk. They have to figure out where we go to the bathroom at, and then lunch, and we have playtime. Lots and lots of playtime.
See, you get playtime even though you're coming to school. Now, do they have their own cubbies?
They do. They have their own bed cubbies. They have their own cubbies for their stuff. They each have their own desk that has a cubby in it. They have their own pencil box.
A pencil box?
Yes.
That sounds like it's going to be fun.
This is a big school. This is how we roll.
Okay, it's big school. You heard it. Mrs. Stottlemyre has been a big school teacher for a long time. She knows exactly what you need on the first day. You don't have anything to be worried about. No matter where you're going to school, there's going to be a teacher, just like Mrs. Stottlemyre, there to take care of you. Everything's going to be great. You're going to have as much fun as Curious George did on his first day of school. So, don't be worried. Don't be nervous. Go off to your first day of school. And you know what I want them to do most of all with their teacher?
What?
Obey, and obey right away. Would that make you happy?
Oh, absolutely.
See, when you obey your teacher, when you obey your mom and dad, you make everybody happy. So, on your first day of school, obey and obey right away. And then come back and see me again. I'll read you another book and send me a note. I want to hear all about your first day of school. And I know you're going to have a great time. You want to say goodbye to everybody?
Bye.
Bye, guys.